The soft hum of the ship's engines filled the bridge as Captain Walker stared at the endless sea of stars through the main viewport. His ship, the EDF Horizon, had been patrolling the outer edges of human space for the past 3 months. It was a routine mission, meant to show humanity's presence in the region and keep an eye out for any unusual activity. Walker ran his hand through his graying hair, feeling the weight of command on his shoulders. 20 years in the Earth Defense Fleet had taught him that space was full of surprises, but even he wasn't prepared for what happened next. "Captain," called out Tom from his sensor station, his voice cutting through the quiet atmosphere of the bridge. "I'm picking up something strange about 3 light minutes from our position." Walker turned his chair toward the young officer. "Define strange, Lieutenant." It's like nothing I've ever seen before, sir. The energy signature keeps changing, but it's definitely not natural. And it's not matching any known patterns in our database." The captain stood up and walked over to Tom's station, studying the readings on the screen. The signal was indeed unusual, a pulsing beacon that seemed to shift between different frequencies in a complex pattern. "How long has it been active?" Walker asked, his eyes fixed on the dancing energy signatures. "That's the thing, sir. According to these readings, it's been here for at least 10,000 years. The power source, it's not decaying at all." The bridge crew fell silent. Human technology could barely keep a beacon powered for a century, let alone 10,000 years. Whatever this was, it was far beyond their current capabilities. Walker made his decision quickly. "Helm, take us closer, but maintain a safe distance. Lieutenant Reed, I want full sensor scans. If this thing so much as hiccups, I want to know about it." As they approached the source of the signal, the object became visible on their screens. It was surprisingly small, no larger than a car, with a smooth, dark surface that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Strange markings covered its surface, unlike any alien writing they had encountered before. "Sir," Reed called out, her voice filled with excitement. "The beacon just transmitted a data packet. It's coordinates, Captain. And there's more. Warnings, I think. The computer is still working on translating them, but they're in at least 15 different alien languages." Walker felt a familiar tension in his gut. Fleet protocol was clear about unknown alien artifacts. Observe, report, and wait for instructions. But something about this felt different. The beacon had survived for 10,000 years, quietly waiting in the darkness of space. Now it had chosen to activate when they approached. This wasn't just a random encounter. It felt like an invitation. "Get me Admiral Thompson," he ordered, making his way back to his chair. The Admiral's hologram appeared a few minutes later, looking tired but alert. Walker explained the situation, watching as his superior's expression grew more serious with each detail. "You know the protocol, James," Thompson said after a moment of thought. "But you also know how desperate we are for any advantage out here. The frontier wars taught us that we're not alone in this galaxy, and we're not always going to be the strongest ones out here." Walker nodded. The recent conflicts with other spacefaring races had been a harsh wake-up call for humanity. They had survived, even won some battles, but only at a great cost. "Your orders, sir." The Admiral sighed. "Follow those coordinates, Captain. But be careful. Humanity needs every edge it can get, but not at the cost of walking into a trap. Keep your guard up." "Understood, Admiral." Horizon out. As the hologram faded, Walker turned to his crew. He could see the mix of excitement and anxiety on their faces. They were about to venture beyond known space, following a message left by an ancient civilization. "Plot a course to those coordinates," he ordered. "Whatever's waiting for us out there, we're about to make history." The Horizon's engines hummed louder as the ship changed direction, heading toward whatever destiny awaited them in the unknown regions of space. None of them could have guessed that they were about to stumble into a conflict as old as civilization itself. The journey to the mysterious coordinates took 3 days. During that time, Captain Walker made sure his crew ran every possible drill and system check. If they were heading into danger, he wanted the horizon ready for anything. They dropped out of faster-than-light travel in an unfamiliar star system. The local star burned orange-red, casting an eerie light across the bridge's main screen. Several planets orbited at different distances, but what caught everyone's attention was the massive ship already waiting for them. "All hands to battle stations," Walker ordered calmly, though his heart was racing. "But no one fires unless I give the command." The alien vessel was beautiful in a strange way. It looked like flowing silver water frozen in space, at least 3 times the size of the horizon. No visible weapons could be seen, but that didn't mean they weren't there. "Sir, we're being hailed," Tom reported from his station. Walker straightened his uniform, put them through. The main screen flickered to life, showing what appeared to be the alien ship's bridge. The beings they saw made everyone stare in amazement. They looked almost like living crystals, their transparent bodies glowing with inner light. The one in the center spoke, its words automatically translated by their computers. "You have entered restricted space, humans," the crystal being said. "We are the Starborn, guardians of the ancient ways. Turn back now." Walker stepped forward. "I am Captain James Walker of the Earth Defense Fleet. We followed a beacon signal to these coordinates. We come seeking knowledge, not conflict." The crystal being's light pulsed brighter. "You are too young. Your species still fights among itself. The power hidden here is not for you. Leave now, or we will be forced to remove you." "If I may ask," Walker said carefully, "what exactly are you protecting?" "The beacon seemed to invite us here. The beacon tests all who pass. Few are worthy of its call. The last race that tried to force their way in nearly destroyed an entire sector. We will not allow such chaos again." Before Walker could respond, alarms blared across the bridge. "Sir," Reed shouted, "they're scanning us with some kind of energy beam." "It's just a scan," Walker started to say, but he was cut off by the sound of weapons firing. Lieutenant Wilson, a young and nervous officer manning the weapons station, had interpreted the scan as an attack. 2 missiles streaked from the horizon toward the starborn ship. "Cease fire," Walker shouted, but it was too late. The missiles never reached their target. They simply vanished halfway there, as if they'd never existed. The starborn ship's response was immediate. A beam of pure white energy lanced out, grazing the horizon's hull. "Damage report," Walker called out. "Minor damage to the outer hull," Reed responded. "But sir, that was just a warning shot. Their weapon power readings are off the charts." The crystal being's voice boomed through their speakers again. "You see, you react with violence to simple curiosity. This is why you are not ready. You have 1 hour to leave this system, or we will remove you by force." The communication cut off. Walker turned to Wilson, who looked terrified. "I'm sorry, sir," the young officer stammered. "The energy readings, they matched some weapon signatures we've encountered before." "I thought." "We'll discuss this later," Walker said firmly. "Right now, we need options. Reed, what did you learn from their scan before we so rudely interrupted them?" Reed worked her console quickly. "Sir, that ship isn't their only presence here. I'm detecting similar energy signatures throughout the system. They have a whole fleet hidden out there." Walker looked at the main screen, studying the strange ship. They couldn't fight their way past these advanced beings, but he couldn't shake the feeling that the beacon had called them here for a reason. There had to be another way. "Helm," he ordered, "set a course for that asteroid field we passed. We need time to think, and I'd rather not be out in the open when our hour runs out." As the horizon moved away from the starborn ship, Walker knew they were now committed. They could either find a way to prove humanity's worth, or this first contact would become their last. The asteroid field provided good cover for the horizon, but it wouldn't hide them forever. Captain Walker knew the Starborn would eventually come looking for them if they didn't leave the system. He sat in his ready room, studying the sensor data they'd managed to gather before the disastrous first contact. A knock on his door interrupted his thoughts. "Come in." Dr. Reed entered, holding a data pad and looking excited despite their situation. "Captain, you need to see this. We've been analyzing the energy readings from the system, and we found something incredible." She placed the pad on his desk, showing a complex series of scans. "See this planet in the inner system? We thought it was just another rocky world, but look at these readings." Walker leaned forward, studying the images. "It's hollow." "Not exactly hollow, sir. It's more like it's full of machinery. The whole planet is artificial, and it's putting out more computing power than every system in known space combined." The captain's eyes widened. "A computer the size of a planet." "More than that," Reed continued. "Based on what we intercepted from Starbound communications, they're not really protecting the system from us. They're protecting something inside that planet. Some kind of massive data storage. We think it's a library." Walker stood up and walked to the window, watching the asteroids drift past. "A library? What kind of library needs a whole planet?" "The kind that holds the knowledge of dozens of dead civilizations," Reed said quietly. "We've translated more of the beacon's warning messages. They're not just warnings. They're stories. Stories about civilizations that destroyed themselves with their own technological advances." The captain turned back to face her. "And the Starborn. They think they're protecting the galaxy. Every time a young species finds this place, the Starborn turn them away. They believe they're preventing more civilizations from destroying themselves." Before Walker could respond, the ship's computer announced an incoming transmission. It was being broadcast on all frequencies, probably meant for any ship in range. The Starborn's voice filled the room. "Attention, human vessel. Your time has expired. Leave now, or we will begin our search. This is your final warning." Walker looked at Reed. "How sure are you about this library theory?" "Very sure, sir. And there's something else. The beacon that led us here. It's not just sending coordinates. It's testing species that find it. The fact that we could even detect and decode its signal means something." The captain picked up the data pad again, scrolling through the information. "You think we were meant to find this place?" "I think," Reed said carefully, "that whoever built this library wanted it to be found by the right people. The Starborn are so focused on protecting it, they'd forgotten its purpose." A plan started forming in Walker's mind. "The library needs power to run, right? All that computing, it must give off some kind of energy signature." Reed nodded. "Yes, but, oh," her eyes lit up with understanding. "The asteroids around us, they're not just normal space rocks. They're full of rare minerals that interact with energy fields. That's why our sensors kept giving us strange readings." "Could we use that?" Walker asked. "Find a way to hide from the Starborn." Reed was already working on her pad. "Maybe. If we could collect enough of the right minerals, we might be able to bend their scanning beams around us. It wouldn't make us invisible, but it could make us look like just another asteroid." Walker smiled for the first time since entering the system. "Get your team on it. We're not leaving until we find a way into that library. Humanity's been good at learning from mistakes, both our own and others. If there's knowledge in there that could help us grow without destroying ourselves, we need to find it." As Reed hurried off to begin work, Walker returned to the window. Somewhere out there, hidden in plain sight, was the combined knowledge of countless civilizations. The Starborn thought humanity wasn't ready for it. He intended to prove them wrong. For 3 days, the Horizon's crew worked nonstop. They had turned the ship's cargo bay into a makeshift lab, filled with asteroid samples and testing equipment. Dr. Reed hadn't slept much, but her eyes were bright with excitement as she showed Captain Walker their progress. "Watch this," she said, holding up what looked like an ordinary rock. She pressed a button on a nearby device, and a scanning beam passed over the rock. The beam bent around it, creating a blank spot on the sensor display. Walker leaned closer. "It's working." Better than we hoped, Reed said. These asteroids contain crystals that can absorb and redirect energy. The starborn scanning technology is advanced, but it still follows basic physics. We can use that against them. The ship shook slightly as another piece of mining equipment pulled in more asteroid material through the cargo bay's force field. Teams of crew members worked to sort through the rocks, picking out the ones with the right crystal formation. How much do we need? Walker asked. We've done the math. If we cover the hull with a layer about 3 inches thick, we should be able to bend most scanning beams around us. We'll look just like another asteroid to their sensors. Tom's voice came over the intercom. Captain, to the bridge, sir. The starborn are getting closer to our position. Walker hurried to the bridge, Reed following close behind. On the main screen, they could see the silver ship moving through the asteroid field, methodically searching each sector. How long until they reach us? Walker asked. At their current speed, about 6 hours, Tom replied. Reed stepped forward. We need at least 4 hours to finish the modifications. It's going to be close. Walker nodded. Then we better not waste any time. All hands, this is the captain. Everyone not on essential bridge duty. Report to the cargo bay to help with crystal installation. This is our one shot, people. Let's make it count. The next few hours were intense. The entire crew worked together, passing crystals along lines of people, helping engineers attach them to the hull. They'd worked in spacesuits, carefully positioning each piece to create a continuous field around the ship. With just 30 minutes to spare, Reed called Walker to the cargo bay. It's done. We've covered all the vital areas. The engine section was tricky, but we found a way to work around the heat output. Will it hold? Walker asked, looking at the strange crystalline coating that now covered their ship. The adhesive bonds should last long enough. The real question is whether it'll fool their sensors. They got their answer sooner than expected. The starborn ship appeared around a large asteroid less than a kilometer away. Everyone on the bridge held their breath as its scanning beam swept over their position. The seconds felt like hours. The beam passed over them once, twice, then moved on. The starborn ship continued its search pattern, moving away from them as if they weren't even there. Tom let out a quiet cheer, quickly stifling it when Walker glanced his way. But the captain was smiling too. Dr. Reed, he said, I believe you and your team just made history. This is the kind of thinking that sets humanity apart. We don't just use technology. We understand it, adapt it, and improve it. Reed nodded. The starborn have probably been using the same scanning methods for thousands of years. They never thought someone would find a way around them because they never had to think differently. And that's why they're wrong about us, Walker said. We're not too young. We're just young enough to still think outside the box. He turned to the helm. Take us out, nice and slow. Let's go see what's in that library. The horizon moved carefully through the asteroid field, its crystalline coating reflecting the starlight. They had overcome the first challenge, but reaching the library planet would be even harder. Still, they had proven something important. Humanity's greatest strength wasn't its technology, but its ability to find new solutions to old problems. Getting past the starborn's blockade was only the first step. As the horizon approached the library planet, its true nature became clear. The surface wasn't solid rock like they'd thought. It was covered in massive structures that looked like circuit boards the size of continents. Amazing, Reed whispered, studying the sensor readings. The whole planet is one giant computer. But look at these energy readings. They're not random. It's more like a heartbeat. Walker stood behind her chair, watching the numbers scroll across her screen. You mean it's alive? Not exactly, but it's definitely active. And sir, she looked up at him. It's scanning us right back. Before Walker could respond, every screen on the bridge lit up with strange symbols. They shifted and changed, flowing like water until they formed into words everyone could read. State your purpose, the message said simply. Walker took a deep breath. Open a channel. When Reed nodded, he spoke clearly. This is Captain James Walker of the Earth Defense Fleet. We came seeking knowledge. The response was immediate. Many seek knowledge. Few understand its price. Why should you be granted access when others were denied? It was Reed who answered. Because we're not trying to steal it or force our way in. We want to learn, to understand. We've made mistakes as a species, but we've learned from them. The symbols shifted again. Words are easy. Proof is required. Prepare for connection. A beam of light shot out from the planet's surface, hitting the horizon directly. But instead of damaging them, it created what looked like a bridge made of pure energy, leading down to an opening in one of the massive structures. It's some kind of docking system, Reed said, checking her instruments. The beam is perfectly stable. We could actually land inside. Walker looked at his crew. They were tired from their work with the crystals, but he could see the excitement in their eyes. Take us in, he ordered. But stay alert. We don't know what's waiting for us. The horizon followed the energy bridge down to the surface. As they got closer, they could see that what looked like circuit boards from orbit were actually cities, vast complexes of technology beyond anything humans had ever built. They landed in a massive chamber that seemed to form around their ship as they entered. The walls glowed with the same shifting symbols they'd seen on their screens. Atmosphere is breathable, Reed reported. Temperature and gravity are set to Earth normal. It's like it adjusted everything just for us. Walker picked his landing team carefully. Reed for her technical expertise, Tom for his skill with languages, and 2 security officers. As they stepped out of the airlock, the chamber seemed to come alive around them. The floor lit up under their feet, creating paths of light leading deeper into the structure. Holographic displays appeared in the air, showing what looked like star maps, mathematical formulas, and strange diagrams. This isn't just a library, Reed said, her voice filled with awe. It's an interface designed to teach. Look, everything it shows us is building on what we already know, adding new concepts one step at a time. They followed the light paths to a central chamber. Here, the walls were covered in what looked like liquid metal, constantly flowing and changing. In the center stood a pedestal with a single glowing orb. "Welcome, seekers," a voice said, seeming to come from everywhere at once. "You have passed the first test by finding a peaceful way to reach us. But knowledge is power, and power must be earned. Are you prepared to prove your worth?" Walker stepped forward. "What kind of test?" "The only kind that matters," the voice replied. "One that will show if you truly understand the responsibility that comes with knowledge. Your species has great potential, but potential alone is not enough. Show us what humanity is truly capable of." The orb on the pedestal pulsed brighter, and the real test began. The orb's light spread through the chamber, creating 3-dimensional images all around them. Walker and his team found themselves surrounded by scenes from human history, wars, scientific discoveries, environmental disasters, and moments of triumph. "Your species has a violent past," the library's voice said. "Yet you also show great compassion. You destroy, but you also create. Before you face the final test, you must understand why others failed." The scenes change, showing alien civilizations they had never seen before. One species developed powerful weapons and destroyed themselves in a single day. Another found a way to upload their minds to computers, losing their physical forms and eventually their sanity. A third tried to control time itself and accidentally erased their entire civilization from existence. "Each race that found this place wanted our knowledge," the voice continued. "But they wanted it for the wrong reasons. Power, control, revenge. They were not ready for the truth." Reed stepped forward, studying the images carefully. These civilizations, they all tried to skip steps in their development. They wanted the end result without understanding the journey. "Correct," the voice said. "Now, face your test." The chamber transformed again. This time, they saw Earth, But something was wrong. Massive storms covered the planet, and the oceans were rising rapidly. "This is not real," the voice explained. "But it could be. A climate disaster will strike your world in 50 years. With the knowledge in our database, you could prevent it today. What would you do with this information?" Walker thought carefully before answering. "We would need to understand exactly what causes the disaster first, then work backward to see what changes we need to make now." "But you could simply take the advanced technology we offer," the voice countered. "Solve the problem immediately." Tom spoke up. "That wouldn't work. Our society needs to understand why the changes are necessary. If we just forced a solution without helping people understand the problem, we'd face resistance, maybe even violence." The scene changed again, showing a strange alien device. "This machine can provide unlimited clean energy. It could end resource conflicts on your world overnight. Do you take it?" "No," Reed said firmly. "Not without understanding how it works. Any technology advanced enough to solve all our energy problems could probably destroy us if we made a mistake. We'd need to study it, test it, and most importantly, make sure our society was ready for such a big change." The images shifted faster now, presenting problem after problem. Each time, the team responded not by grabbing the quick solution, but by asking questions, seeking understanding, and considering the broader implications. Finally, the chamber returned to normal, except for the orb which now glowed with a soft blue light. "Most who came here wanted solutions," the voice said. "You seek understanding. Most wanted power. You show restraint. Most tried to prove their worth through strength. You prove yours through wisdom." Walker looked at his team, then back at the orb. "We're not perfect. Humanity still has many problems to solve. But we're learning to ask the right questions, to think about consequences, to understand that progress needs to be earned, not taken. And that," the voice said, "is why you are different. The Starborn believe they protect the galaxy by hiding knowledge. But knowledge itself is neutral. It is understanding that matters. Your species is young, yes, but you show the wisdom to learn from others' mistakes while still finding your own path." The orb floated off its pedestal, stopping in front of Walker. "This contains a map to our knowledge, organized in a way your species can safely access and understand over time. Take it. Learn from it. Prove that our faith in humanity is not misplaced." As Walker reached for the orb, he knew that this wasn't just a test for him or his crew. It was a test for all of humanity, and their answers had just opened a door to a new future. The return journey to their ship was interrupted by urgent calls from the bridge. The Starborn had discovered them. Their massive silver ship hung in orbit directly above the library world, weapons charged and ready. "We know you are there, humans," the crystal beam's voice boomed through their communicators. "You have stolen what is not yours. Surrender now." Walker held the glowing orb carefully as his team rushed back to the horizon. "We didn't steal anything," he replied. "We were given this knowledge because we proved ourselves worthy." "Impossible," the Starborn leader said. "No young race can be trusted with such power. We have protected this library for thousands of years. We have seen civilizations rise and fall. You cannot understand what you meddle with." The library's voice suddenly filled the space around them, reaching not just the humans but the Starborn as well. "You have forgotten your purpose, Guardians. You were meant to guide, not restrict. To teach, not hide. These humans have shown wisdom that you have lost." The orb in Walker's hands floated up, projecting images of their test responses into the sky. The Starborn watched in silence as scene after scene showed humanity's careful, thoughtful approach to knowledge and power. "But they are so young," the Starborn leader said, their crystal form dimming slightly. "They have barely left their own star system. Youth brings fresh eyes." The library responded. "They see solutions where you see only threats. They seek to understand where others sought only to take. Age does not always equal wisdom." Walker stepped forward. "We don't want to fight you. In fact, we need you. This knowledge is too important to be managed by any one species alone. Work with us. Be true guardians, not just protecting, but teaching. There was a long silence. The starborn ship remained motionless above them, its weapons still ready. Then, slowly, the crystal being's voice returned, softer this time. In all our years of guarding this place, no species has ever suggested partnership. The weapons powered down. Perhaps we have been alone too long, set in our ways. The orbs split into two identical spheres, one floating back to Walker, the other rising up to the starborn ship. A new age begins, the library announced. The Guardians will guide, and humanity will bring fresh perspective. Together, you will help younger races avoid the mistakes of the past. Reed stepped closer to Walker, studying the orb. Sir, the data in here, it's not just advanced science. There are warnings, stories, philosophical debates from ancient civilizations. They're teaching us how to handle power responsibly, not just giving us the power itself. That's why we passed the test, Tom added. We didn't just want the end result. We wanted to understand the journey. The starborn leader appeared before them in a holographic form. We have much to learn from each other, humans. Your species sees possibilities where we saw only dangers. Perhaps this is what the library's creators intended all along, different perspectives working together. Walker nodded. Every race has something to teach and something to learn. Even the youngest species might see something that the oldest overlooked. The library's voice spoke one final time. The cycle continues. Knowledge passes from old to young. Wisdom flows from experience to innovation. Go forth together. Guide those who will follow. And remember, the greatest power lies not in knowing everything, but in understanding how much there is still to learn. As the Horizon prepared to leave the library world, Walker looked at the orb secured safely in their science lab. They had come seeking knowledge and found something far more valuable. A way forward not just for humanity, but for all species willing to learn and grow together. The starborn ship now flew alongside them as an escort, not a threat. Behind them, the library world continued its eternal wait for the next species ready to prove their worth. But this time, when they came, they would find not stern guardians, but patient teachers ready to guide them on their journey of discovery.